Chosen one. Heaven's funding does not always arrive as money falling into your hands. Sometimes it arrives as an idea you finally recognize. Sometimes it arrives as a decision you stop postponing. Sometimes it arrives as a person you are finally prepared to answer. And sometimes it arrives as a door that was always near you, but remained invisible to the version of you that was doing everything it could just to survive. So let this question settle inside you. What if the funding line was never closed? What if God was not withholding every answer you asked for? What if provision had already entered your life, but stress, disappointment, and mental fog changed the way you received it? A provision you cannot recognize feels like absence. An opportunity you cannot evaluate feels like confusion. An instruction you cannot act upon feels like another season of waiting. This does not mean your struggle is your fault. It does not mean every hardship can be solved by changing your thoughts. It means there may be one part no one taught you to examine: the condition of the receiver. You pray for direction, and an idea comes. For a few seconds it feels clear. Something inside you recognizes it. Then the mind divides. One part sees possibility. Another part remembers every reason it could fail. By the next morning, the clarity is gone. You conclude the idea was never real. But that pattern is not proof that you lack intelligence. It is not proof that God abandoned you. It is not proof that you were never selected for more. There is a name for what may be happening. When you hear it, several moments from your past may finally make sense. You will see why survival hides opportunity, why fear borrows the voice of wisdom, and why people reject the expansion they have asked for. Later, we will return to why your mind once felt faster and more creative. Part of the answer reaches back to research that received a Nobel Prize. Hold that mystery. The funding line is not only about what is sent, it is also about who you become when it arrives. Heaven may place the door nearby. You must decide whether to walk through it. This is not fantasy or passivity. It is the meeting point between faith, clarity, responsibility, and action. You may know this private wait. You open your banking app at night. Your chest tightens before the numbers load. Then you act normal for everyone who depends on you. Then one question rises. Have I been forgotten? No. Your circumstances are not proof of your spiritual worth. Your delay is not proof of rejection. Your exhaustion is not a moral failure. But this season may require honesty about what stress has done to your attention. Notice the ideas you dismiss. Notice the messages you delay. Notice the small openings you refuse because they do not look dramatic enough. Chosen one, write this declaration below. I am ready to receive clearly. A comment does not create provision. A sentence does not force heaven to move. But naming your willingness marks a shift. You stop describing yourself only as the one who waits. You begin becoming the one who can recognize, test, and steward what arrives. Stay close. There is a name for the state that makes a present opportunity feel absent. Once you understand it, you may finally see what has been near you all along. Chosen one. The name of this condition is the closed receiver. It happens when opportunity is present, but the mind is too overloaded to recognize it clearly. It happens when direction arrives, but your attention has been trained to search for danger first. You may know the signs. You can do small tasks for hours, but your energy collapses when important work begins. You reread the same message. You delay one simple decision. You avoid your finances, even when avoidance creates more pressure. Then, you judge yourself. You call yourself lazy. You call yourself undisciplined. You wonder why other people can move while you remain stuck. But that explanation is incomplete. Your problem may not be a lack of desire. Your system may be carrying more protection than your attention can hold. Long periods of stress change what you notice. The mind becomes quick to detect risk. It becomes slow to detect possibility. This response can help a person survive a difficult season, but it can also hide quiet openings that do not announce themselves with certainty. That is why a real opportunity can pass near you and still feel invisible. It may arrive as a small conversation, a repeated idea, or a practical invitation. But if your attention is searching only for what could go wrong, the opening is filtered out before you examine it. Chosen one, hear this carefully. You were not empty of potential. You were overloaded with protection. That sentence rewrites your past. The years when you felt slow were not proof that you were foolish. You were often deciding from a mind trained to prevent another wound. This does not remove responsibility. It restores it. Because once you can name a pattern, you can begin to interrupt it. You do not have to wait for a dramatic sign. You can train yourself to notice what is already near. For the next 7 days, create a simple provision signal log. Each evening, write down 3 things. Write one idea that returned more than once. Write one person, resource, or conversation that appeared. Then write one small action you can test without risking everything. Do not call every event a message from God. Do not force meaning onto coincidence. Your task is only to observe before you judge. Patterns become visible when attention becomes honest. Someone may believe they need an entirely new career, yet the practical opening is smaller. It may be one delayed email, one unfinished application, or one person they are afraid to call. Provision often enters smaller than fantasy, but more useful than fantasy. It asks for participation. It gives you enough light for the next step, not always the entire road. This is the first breakthrough. The absence you felt may not always have been absence. Sometimes it was an opening that could not compete with the noise of survival. Sometimes it was direction that arrived without enough drama to satisfy fear. Write this below. I can see what is near. That declaration is not about pretending every door is yours. It is about becoming willing to examine the door before walking away. It is about giving possibility a fair hearing. But seeing an opportunity creates another problem. Many people recognize the opening, then reject it almost immediately. They call the rejection wisdom. They call the retreat peace. Yet fear has learned how to borrow sacred language. In the next movement, you will learn how scarcity changes the meaning of what you see. You will also learn the difference between discernment that examines and fear that condemns. That difference may explain why some of your safest decisions created your deepest regret. Chosen one, fear does not always sound afraid. Sometimes it sounds careful. Sometimes it sounds mature. Sometimes it says you need one more sign, one more month, or one more reason before you move. This pattern has a name. It is the Scarcity Translation. It happens when past disappointment changes the meaning of a present opportunity. What could become expansion is translated into danger before it is tested. You may recognize it. You research for weeks, but never take the first step. You feel relief after saying no, then regret the decision later. You call avoidance peace. You call hesitation discernment. You wait for certainty, even when certainty was never available. Not every delay is wisdom. Not every feeling of relief means you chose correctly. Sometimes, relief comes because the body escaped uncertainty. The moment feels safer, but the future becomes smaller. Chastity memory asks whether an opportunity could hurt you. It remembers rejection and loss, then uses those memories to predict everything new. That is why fear can sound responsible. It does not say, I am terrified. It says, this is probably not the right time. It does not say, I fear being seen. It says, I am protecting my peace. Chosen one. Discernment examines the door. Fear condemns it before looking. You are not being told to trust every offer. You are not being told to call every impulse divine. Wisdom tests what arrives. Fear rejects before the test begins. Think about a choice you abandoned quickly. Did you examine the facts, or did your body decide first? There is no shame in seeing this. But a survival strategy does not automatically become a building strategy. You can interrupt the scarcity translation with 3 movements: receive, test, move. First, receive the idea before judging it. Write it down. Let it exist long enough for honest examination. Second, test what is true. What evidence supports it? What would it cost? Does it align with your values and responsibilities? Third, move through one measured action. Send the question, request the details, make a call. Choose a step that creates information without risking everything. This protects faith and wisdom. It keeps you open without making fear your final authority. Joseph connected insight with planning, storage, and stewardship. The value was not prediction alone. It was turning understanding into responsible preparation. Insight without action becomes another beautiful thought. Action without testing becomes impulse. But insight, testing, and movement can create a stable path forward. Does every opportunity deserve a yes? No. It deserves honest examination. A pattern loses power when it becomes visible. Write this declaration below. I test before I retreat. Now soften your shoulders, unclench your jaw. Think of one opportunity you rejected without examining it. Do not condemn yourself. Ask one question. What was I protecting? The answer may be reputation, comfort, or belonging. Let it be information. You are returning to recover your agency. But another layer remains. You can see the opening and test it honestly, yet still struggle to organize your next move. You may feel the truth intuitively, while your practical mind pulls away. Your gifts may not be missing, they may be divided, and when that division becomes clear, you will understand why insight has so often failed to become movement. Chosen one, your gifts may not be missing, they may be divided. One part of you senses what is possible. Another part demands proof before movement. One part receives the idea. Another part pulls it apart until nothing remains. This pattern creates painful confusion. You can feel guided, yet still struggle to organize the next step. You can have powerful ideas, but leave them unfinished. You may have called this inconsistency. You may have called it a lack of discipline. But there is another possibility. Your creative mind and your practical mind may be working beside each other instead of working together. I call this the split gift. The split gift appears in 2 forms. One person receives inspiration easily, but cannot build structure around it. Another builds structure well, but no longer feels alive inside what they create. An idea may arrive during prayer, while walking, or just before sleep. It feels clear. You can almost see the finished result. Then morning comes, and the idea loses shape. Or you may follow routines and meet expectations. You keep everything moving, but your work feels mechanical, and the creative intelligence you once trusted feels distant. The common explanation says you need more motivation. It says you need another productivity system. But motivation cannot solve division. A schedule cannot create integration by itself. Provision often requires 2 abilities at once. You must recognize what is possible, and you must evaluate what is practical. You must imagine the opening, and you must build the steps that allow you to enter it. When intuition has no structure, the idea dissolves. When structure has no imagination, life repeats the past. The answer is not choosing one side. The answer is allowing both sides to serve the same direction. You did not lose the gift. You lost consistent access to the whole of it. This changes how you read unfinished projects. They were not always proof that you lacked ability. Some were evidence that inspiration arrived without a system strong enough to carry it. Try this simple practice. Draw 2 columns on a page. In the first, write what I sense. In the second, write what the facts support. Do not let either column control the decision alone. Look for one small action where both columns agree. That point of agreement is where insight becomes movement. Maybe you sense a project matters. The facts may support 1 hour of focused work, not a complete life change. Maybe you sense a conversation is necessary. The facts may support one honest question. This is how integration begins. It begins small. It begins where vision and evidence can meet without fighting. Everything until now explains why provision can be missed. But the next truth explains why many people recognize the door and still cannot walk through it. Clarity may be present. Opportunity may be real. Yet another part of you may believe that receiving more is unsafe. Before we face that barrier, hold one question. Why did your mind feel faster, more creative, and more alive when you were younger? A neurological approach has drawn attention to something spiritually sensitive people have felt for years. The mind can hold remarkable potential while operating in a divided and reduced state. The research behind this reaches back to a Nobel Prize. Yet the practical application is far simpler than most people would expect. I will return to that discovery after we address the final internal barrier, because a tool only makes sense when you understand the problem it was built to support. For now, hold this question. What if the sharp and creative mind you remember was not lost, but waiting to be accessed more fully? Most people leave when a message asks them to examine their own patterns. You stayed because comfort is no longer enough, but clarity alone does not guarantee expansion. A part of you may still believe receiving more will cost you safety, belonging, or peace. Chosen one, clarity may be present and opportunity may be real. Yet another barrier can still stop movement. You may want expansion with your words, while another part of you fears what expansion will require. This pattern has a name. It is the capacity covenant. You may say you want more income, but delay the proposal that could increase your visibility. You may pray for a larger assignment, but keep shrinking your work before anyone can judge it. You may receive money, then spend it quickly, because holding it feels unfamiliar. You may feel guilty when life improves. A part of you may fear that growth will separate you from people you love. The common explanation calls this self-sabotage, but a protective part of you may be trying to preserve belonging and safety. Success terror is rarely afraid of money itself. It fears the boundaries, visibility, and decisions that money may require. You may ask for the outcome while resisting the identity that must carry it. You may want provision, but fear becoming the person who must manage, direct, and protect that provision. You are not afraid of provision itself. You may be afraid of the life that provision asks you to lead. This reframes your past. Sometimes your old identity was pulling you back toward a size that felt familiar. The survivor knows how to endure. The steward must learn how to hold. The survivor asks how to make it through the week. The steward asks what this resource is for, where it belongs, and what it can build. Provision without capacity can create chaos. More responsibility requires a clearer relationship with time, attention, and choice. You prepare for increase by practicing stewardship with what is already in your hands. Choose one action within the next day. Finish an obligation that has remained open. Organize one area of your finances. Send one proposal. Set one boundary. Give one uninterrupted hour to the work you keep calling important. This is stewardship before increase. It proves to your nervous system that expansion does not have to mean disorder. Now imagine a quiet morning several months from now. This is not a promise about timing. You open your account and your body does not collapse. You see the numbers as information, not judgment. An opportunity arrives and you do not rush toward it or run from it. You pause, you test it, you decide what belongs to you. Then you act from calm authority. Write this declaration below. I am safe to expand. Now return to the question you have been holding. Why did your mind once feel faster, more creative, and more alive? I told you there was a neurological discovery connected to Nobel Prize research. I waited because a solution only becomes meaningful after you understand the full shape of the problem it supports. You now understand that shape. Stress can hide opportunity. Scarcity can translate possibility into danger. Division can separate insight from structure. Success terror can reject the identity required for expansion. But here is the missing piece. Why does knowing all of this still fail to produce movement for so many sincere people? Why can the insight be true, the intention be genuine, and the next step remain buried under fog? The missing piece is not another belief to repeat. It concerns the state from which the mind is trying to receive, connect, and act. The clarity you need may not be absent. Access to that clarity may be inconsistent. This is where the question about the receiver becomes important. The problem is now visible. The next step is understanding how the receiver can be supported. Chosen one, let us bring everything into plain language. The reason provision can feel absent is not always that nothing has arrived. Stress can narrow attention. Scarcity can make possibility feel dangerous. A divided mind can separate insight from action. Fear of expansion can reject what responsibility requires. That is the why. The what is simple. You already have 3 practices. Notice repeated ideas and practical openings. Test what is true before retreating. Practice stewardship with what is already in your hands. The WHO is the person you are becoming. Not only the one who waits. Not only the one who survives. You are becoming the clear steward. The clarity you received is real, but clarity understood once is not the same as clarity you can reliably access when pressure returns. The mechanism is visible. The question now is how the receiver can be supported. Earlier, I asked why your mind once felt faster, more creative, and more alive. The answer reaches back to research that received a Nobel Prize. In 1981, Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for work involving the divided functions of the brain. His research helped reveal how the 2 hemispheres contribute different abilities while working best as parts of one connected system. The 2 sides contribute different abilities, and their deepest value appears when those abilities cooperate. You need insight and evaluation. You need imagination and structure. You need vision and action. The product presentation claims that most children display unusually high creative potential, while very few adults retain consistent access to that state. What if part of what you call lost potential is also a loss of coordinated access? A woman from California described living with that feeling. She had tried prayer, journaling, and meditation. She believed the right words, but could not feel their reality in daily life. After using the resource, she described greater clarity and connection. Her experience is personal, not a guarantee. A man from Texas shared a different struggle. He had spent years carrying responsibility for others, while his own mind felt increasingly foggy. After using the same approach, he described stronger focus and clearer decisions. A team led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York developed an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. The user wears headphones, closes the eyes, and relaxes. They call it the Genius Switch. The Genius Switch uses what the product describes as neural sync technology. Its purpose is to support hemisphere synchronization and whole brain activation. It is not presented as a meditation app. It does not require mantras. It does not require a complicated routine. You listen for 8 minutes each day. It is not positioned as a generic soundtrack. The claimed difference is coordinated whole brain activation rather than simple relaxation. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who refuses to call mental fog a character flaw. It is for the person who understands that God-given potential still requires clarity, testing, and responsible action. You are not required to buy anything to remain worthy, chosen, or spiritually aligned. The product page uses a value reference of $500. Similar neurofeedback options can cost far more. The listed price is $49. The page currently offers an additional discount, bringing the price to $39. It includes 4 bonuses: a guided visualization, a grocery guide, a classic manifestation book, and a printable habits infographic. The purchase includes lifetime access and a money-back guarantee. Read the terms before deciding. The current price may increase. I will not tell you that your blessing disappears if you wait. The deeper cost of waiting is another week of delayed decisions and unfinished work. The official version is not distributed through Amazon, Spotify, or public audio channels. Similar files are not confirmed to contain the same technology. The verified page is linked in the description and the pinned comment. If your spirit resonates and the details make practical sense, you can read everything there before deciding. A tool does not replace God. It does not replace obedience. It does not budget for you, choose for you, or act for you. What it may support is the receiver. And when the receiver becomes clearer, the next faithful step can become easier to recognize. Chosen one. A tool can support clarity. It cannot replace God. It cannot replace prayer, discernment, budgeting, effort, or wise counsel. No product can make a decision for you. No audio can practice courage for you. No resource can guarantee a financial result. The work of obedience still belongs to your heart and your hands. Fear can appear in 2 directions. One says you must buy to avoid losing your blessing. Another rejects every tool to prove faith. Neither response is clarity. A grounded decision does not come from panic. It comes from truth, timing, responsibility, and peace. You may be thinking, I have tried many audio tracks before. Nothing changed. That skepticism is reasonable. The approach described earlier is positioned differently from generic soundtracks, but you should still examine the details for yourself. Review the official details, mechanism, and guarantee. Notice what is claimed and what is not. You may also be thinking, I cannot afford $39 right now. Then do not move from shame. Do not borrow money. Do not neglect food, housing, medicine, or any essential need. The practices already given to you are still available. Keep the provision signal log. Use receive, test, move. Practice stewardship before increase. Your worth is not measured by a purchase. Another question may be rising. If I do not use this resource, will I miss what God has for me? No. God is not locked behind a product. Divine provision is not sold through a payment page. The resource is only one possible support for greater clarity. Let that truth remove the pressure. Soften your shoulders. Release your jaw. Let your breathing slow. You do not need to decide while your body is tense. You do not need to prove faith through speed. A clear yes is different from a frightened yes, and a clear no is different from avoidance. Ask yourself one honest question. Does this support fit my needs, my values, and my present circumstances? Then listen without forcing an answer. For the chosen one who felt something stir when the mind and receiver were described, the resource from Dr. Barone's team remains in the description and the pinned comment. You can read the official details there. You can decide from clarity. That is the only invitation needed. Now, we return to the deeper current, because the greatest shift in this message is not from poor to rich. It is not from waiting to receiving. It is from surviving every moment to stewarding each moment. Before this message ends, I will speak a declaration over the part of you that learned to live only as a survivor. That part protected you. It carried you through seasons that demanded endurance. But it does not have to lead forever. The survivor brought you here. The steward will carry you forward. Chosen one, prepare to meet the part of you that is ready to move with clarity. If it is safe, close your eyes. Place one hand over your chest or your lower stomach. Let your jaw soften. Let your shoulders fall. Do not force a special feeling. Simply notice that you are here. Now imagine a simple door in front of you. It is not covered in gold. It looks ordinary because many real openings arrive that way. See yourself place your hand on the door. Feel the surface beneath your palm. Then open it slowly. On the other side is a room. There is a table near a window. Clear morning light rests across the surface. On the table are four things. There is a delayed idea. There is a person you need to contact. There is one unfinished decision. There is one resource, not yet organized. Nothing on the table is asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to become present. Walk toward the table. Look at the idea. Ask what small action would give you more truth. Look at the name. Ask whether a conversation needs to begin. Look at the decision. Notice where fear has been asking for impossible certainty. Then look at the resource. It may be time, skill, knowledge, money, attention, or a relationship. Ask how it can be stewarded more faithfully. The funding line is not only about what enters your life. It is also about your ability to see, discern, and manage what is already there. Your God-given potential does not need fantasy to prove itself. It becomes visible through clarity and faithful movement. Take a slow breath in. Think the word, receive. Hold gently. Think the word, discern. Breathe out. Think the word, move. Again, receive, discern, move. One more time. Receive, discern, move. Let those three movements become a pattern in your body. You receive without worshipping impulse. You discern without fear. You move without demanding the whole road. Now, imagine a future morning. You sit down before the distractions begin. Your phone is turned over. Your breathing is steady. The work in front of you matters. You stay with it. For one focused hour, you do not run. You do not search for another sign. You do not abandon the idea because discomfort appears. You write the message. You complete the page. You send the proposal. You organize the plan. Something that once lived only inside you begins to take form. This is not a promise of instant wealth. It is a picture of peaceful momentum. The old version of you waited for confidence before acting. The clear steward allows responsible action to build confidence. Choose one movement now. Name it silently. Make it specific enough to complete within the next day. Not change my life. Send the email. Not become successful. Finish the proposal. Not receive everything. Steward what is here. You stayed through this message because reassurance alone is no longer enough. You are ready for responsibility. The survivor brought you here. Honor that part. It kept breathing. It kept believing. It kept finding a way through. But the survivor does not need to control every future decision. A new identity is rising. Calm, clear, responsible, open to provision, but no longer passive. The steward will carry you forward. Chosen one, take one more quiet breath. You have carried questions no one could answer. You have lived through seasons where numbers failed, doors stayed closed, and effort seemed invisible. Still, something in you remained. You kept hoping. You kept listening. You kept returning to the belief that your life could hold more than survival. Honor that persistence now. Do not thank God for money that has not arrived. Give thanks for clarity, courage, and the capacity to begin again. Now release what no longer belongs to you. I release the belief that struggle defines my worth. I release the need to call every fear discernment. I release shame over the opportunities I did not recognize. I release the identity of the permanent survivor. I release the belief that clarity belongs to other people. I release the fear of being seen at a larger capacity. I release the habit of waiting for certainty before taking a faithful step. Let those words settle. Your past choices can teach you without owning you. Your missed opportunities can inform you without condemning you. Your difficult seasons can shape wisdom without becoming your identity. Now speak from the person you are becoming. I am not forgotten. I am not disqualified by delay. I am capable of seeing what is near. I receive insight without worshipping impulse. I test what arrives without surrendering to fear. I move with faith and practical wisdom. I can hold responsibility without abandoning peace. I am becoming a clear steward. My mind is not my enemy. My past does not own my next decision. I recognize provision in the forms it truly takes. I honor God through clarity, courage, and responsible action. Chosen one, write this declaration below. I am a clear steward. This is not a spell. It does not force money to appear. It does not purchase favor from heaven. It is a declaration about how you will meet opportunity from this moment forward. You will not worship every idea. You will not reject every opening. You will receive, discern, and move. At the beginning, I told you the funding line may never have been closed. Now you understand what that means. The first change may not appear in your account. It may appear in your attention. You notice what you once ignored. You complete what you once postponed. You examine what you once feared. Then recognition becomes response. Response becomes movement. Movement becomes stewardship. Your financial stagnation does not prove that heaven withheld every form of provision. Stress, scarcity, divided attention, and fear may have obscured what was near. As clarity returns, you become better able to recognize opportunity, test it wisely, and carry it responsibly. This is the deeper funding line. Not money without meaning, not blessing without responsibility, not abundance without wisdom. Provision meeting preparation. Insight meeting action. Faith meeting stewardship. May you see clearly. May you test wisely. May you move faithfully. And may every resource entrusted to you find a steady steward. Amen. It is sealed.